the way that humans work and the way that we've evolved as a species is that we don't really learn lessons unless they're learned the hard way.
Yeah.
I believe that unless a lesson has taught the hard way, you're not going to learn it. You can have so many near misses and people won't learn their lesson. Bro, you must know a guy who goes out there, nearly crashes his car, doesn't slow his ass down till he wrecks it.
Yeah.
Like, this is just how people are, right? So you need that pain for the lesson to sting enough to really genuinely go inside of your mind. And it's the same with everything. It's the same with driving a car or business. Truthfully, if you want to learn a lesson about business, you're going to have to suffer at some point, right? So we always say that most people are not successful with their first companies, X, Y, Z, blah, blah, blah. I get that. The truth is there's a lot of people who make a lot of money with their first company, but they just spunk it, act an idiot, and it all blows up in their face. And that's how you get the discipline on your fourth company that when you have 3 million in the bank, you just leave it there. You know, and don't be done with it. So you need to go through some pain. You need to experience some negative things. You need to have to a degree some trauma to really even learn any lessons. So yeah, business studies, you're right. The book, that's not going to teach you anything about business. You need to get out there on the streets. You need to make mistakes. You need to suffer. You need to have the tax man knocking at your door. You got to deal with all that stuff so that you make sure it doesn't happen again. I really think that humans are stupid enough to only learn the hard way. That's kind of how it works.
I've lived a very, very eclectic life, and I really believe that the key to my experiences and the key to how I view the world is the fact that I've lived such an eclectic life. I have had such different experiences. I've been broke. I've been a millionaire. I've been a pimp. I've been a fighter. You know, I've done so many different things. And I really think that, like we said, it's the juxtaposition. It's the contrast that makes life interesting. I'm happy with every single element of my life. And even if I wasn't, I would refuse to admit that I'm not, right? This is the life I've lived. I accept all of it. If I've made a mistake in the past, it was the best thing I believe. At the time, I thought it was the best thing to do. This is another thing about people. I get, it's kind of weird. On my YouTube channel, I talk a lot about like mental rigidity and these kind of things, right? And I get a lot of people messaging me and they're very like, look, I'm very depressed, but I've been watching your videos and I want to kind of think like you. I want to be happier, etc. I made this big mistake 2 years ago and I lost my wife, whatever. And I try and explain to them that if you did what you believed was best at the time, hindsight's a bitch, right? If you did what you believed was best at the time, then what are you mad for? Every mistake I made in my life, at the time, I thought I was doing the right thing. So I'm not going to be mad at past me. And every single bad thing that's happened to me, every single piece of trauma that's happened in my life has led me here. So if you're happy with where you are currently, then you have to be happy for every bad thing that's ever happened to you. Genuinely, right? If you look at your life now and go, I'm quite happy with where I am, then you have to be happy with every single shit day you've had because you wouldn't end up here any other way. You know, I wouldn't have grown as a man if my father didn't die. You learn a lot about yourself as a man when your father dies. So, of course, I wish my father was alive, right? But if I'm happy with my life now and where it is, you have to accept every shitty day and every single lesson. So, yeah, I'm happy for all of it, the good and the bad, my friend. I'm smiling. I'm breathing. I'm alive. And there's a whole bunch of people out here in the world today who are not going to be breathing by the end of it. And there's a whole bunch of people out here in the world today who are going to have those distraught days we were talking about earlier. Something shit's going to happen to them. Their family's going to be in a car crash. As long as that shit ain't happening to me, I am smiling. You cannot depress me. You can't piss on my Cheerios.
The fact that you will sit there and self-analyze yourself to determine how happy you are out of a score of 100 is already a mental failure. That's a failure. You should be busy. You shouldn't cross your mind. The fact you have time to sit there and go, how happy am I today? Oh, I'm only this much. Maybe I should be happier. That's already a mess up. The second thing is, and this is the truth, most of you, in fact, the large majority of you, don't deserve to be happy.
Why?
Because they haven't done the work it requires to be happy. Yeah. You're not a man of genuine excellence in every human metric. You don't deserve to be happy. You're sitting at your computer with your Bored Ape and your NFTs and $4 million, but you're fat and you're boring and you stink. And you expect yourself to be happy. You don't deserve to be happy. You don't deserve it. You haven't worked for it. Beauty lies on top of the mountain, my friends. You have to climb it. You have to get all the way up there to see the peak and its amazing view. Let me tell you something. I'm happy because all I've done is suffer. That's all I've ever done is suffer. This is how I got here. Suffer. My life's been nothing but suffering and trauma. That's how I got here. That's why my worldview's so brilliant. That's how I can wake up, and as long as no one has a gun to my head, I am happy because I have suffered. You, ladies and gentlemen, haven't suffered enough. And if you haven't suffered, you're never going to be happy. Happiness lies atop a mountain. If it's just laying all over the floor and anyone can pick it up, it has no value. People's entire mental model is skewed. You're a crypto guy, right? You believe in NFTs. NFTs, the whole point of them is that there's one. It's the scarcity that provides the value. If things are not scarce, there's no value to it.
Yeah.
Right? So it doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter if it's financial. It doesn't matter if it's even a good body, right? The fact that a guy has big arms, the reason that has value is because it's rare. If every dude naturally had big arms by default, it wouldn't have a value. So you're talking about happiness as if it should just be laid all over the floor. If everyone could pick up happiness without trying, you still wouldn't be happy because it wouldn't have value, and you'd be aiming for you'd be looking for a new attention of happiness. You'd be looking for something else. You just raised the paradigm. And people who are out here trying to find happiness without trauma and suffering, those are the guys who get addicted to drugs, alcohol, all this crap, because they're trying to find temporary happiness. You're going to find happiness through pain. That's where happiness comes from as a man. And I know you say you take some of my advice, et cetera, et cetera.
I love male advice.
Yeah, perfect. But it's the struggle that adds the value to things. The reason I'm going to love my cars so much is because I had nothing and now I have them.
I think that men have a very unique life path, and it's very difficult to try and achieve status as a man. It's not easy to stand out from the crowd, because the only way to truly achieve individuality is usually a long, difficult road. It takes a long time to become an important man. And even what women expect of an important man, you need to be smart, charismatic, intelligent, strong, have a nice car, nice apartment, good network, good friends. You need to be able to handle stress. You need to be competent. There's so many things you need to be able to do. It's difficult for a young man to even have all these things. This is the reason women like older men. And people like attention, male and female. And I think we live in a world now with the internet where young men especially, instead of trying to go the very hard road of becoming a man who naturally garners attention due to his competence, instead think, well, this dance gets views, so if I do the stupid little dance, I'll get views. And it's a cheap substitute for actual quality as a man. That's what I think it all is. And it's attention seeking, and I understand why they do it. But when you grow up as a man and you grow into a man of status and genuine stature, you're uninterested in doing little dances because you are important simply because you exist. Being a man is about taking the trauma which happens to you and internalizing it and using it in a way to build yourself into a stronger, more powerful man. A man who's never had trauma is not a capable man. If you were to find a woman and give her a man who's never had any trauma in his life, she'd hate him. There's nothing about him which is good. You need a man who's had a whole bunch of trauma and lived through it. And that's why becoming a man is so difficult. That's why becoming a man is so hard. And if you're a top tier male, you get attention by default. But if you've not been through that process, or you don't want to go through that pain, then you resort to other things. And other things include TikTok dances. I'm saying that if you go through enough pain and you internalize it the right way and you become a high enough status man, that you don't need to be doing TikTok dances to simply get attention. I get attention for talking, right? I don't have to pay anyone to listen. I just talk. My whole life story enough is attention. I'll get in the ring. I've had 87 professional fights. I'll get in the ring and beat the fuck out of somebody if I want people to look at me. I don't have to do little dances.
Someone said to me about babies. They were talking about when babies are teething, and they're saying that it's not particularly painful. It's just the most painful thing they've ever experienced.
Yeah.
So it's like if you have no upper threshold for pain, then little things are super painful. Like you said, if you've been through real shit, this shit doesn't matter. But if this is the most you've ever been through, it's the most painful thing in the world. So this is what happens. You're exactly right. People don't put themselves through difficulty. So when something happens in life, which is bound to happen, they have little breakdowns, little baby breakdowns. Boo-hoo, boo-hoo, and they expect me to give a fuck. And nobody cares. And you know the thing about it? The thing about it is this. Women care the least.
Yeah,
women care the least. You know, like you hear these stories of like men killing themselves over a chick. And I guess in the final seconds, the man's thinking this will make her really regret all those times she didn't. She'll be sucking a new dick next week.
Yeah, she'll just think you're a bigger wuss.
Yeah, they don't care.
Should be disgusted.
Exactly, they don't care because women live in a purely emotional realm.
Yeah.
And if they don't have any emotion towards you at that time, they don't have any emotion towards you at that time. This is it.